back, everybody, to NAL. We've got Oxygen versus Astralis coming up, and I heard actually we've got a live view of Astralis getting ready for the match. We're going to check out what Forrest is up to as he gets ready to take the field in Rainbow Six. I love these behind-the-scenes views. It's great to be able to see what's happening. Let's check it out. Yeah. Over at the venue in Vegas, we're told the hookup's happening right now. We're getting the feed.
It's live. Yeah.
That's right. I've heard. It's coming through in just a moment. We've got it. Let's see. Oh my gosh.
Wait.
What's going on here?
Wait, what?
Huh?
Is it a pentagram?
Is that Forrest in a pentagram doing what? Some sort of ritual? I don't know. I feel like this is something we shouldn't be seeing. Oh my gosh. I don't think we were supposed to see that.
You can't not find it funny, man. You just can't.
All right. Well, everyone, the thing is, professional players have some ticks, they have some quirks. Everyone gets ready for the match the same way. Some superstitions, perhaps some,
That's fair.
Some summoning of dark forces. You can't judge. I'm not here to judge. Everyone's got their own way to get ready for matches. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried for Oxygen now. Are you?
We talk about Sith dealing in absolutes, and that was an absolute stomp from Astralis from yesterday. So sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just channeling the dark side currently.
I mean, I'd be afraid of a guy who's doing summoning rituals. I wouldn't know how I'd feel going to a game against a guy like that. I don't know.
Maybe they don't know.
It's fine. They literally, in their announcement video, they picked up Forrest from a forest doing a lot of the same thing. He was just sitting there in the middle of nowhere, eyes closed, and then they show up behind him, grab him, put him in a van, and take him to Vegas. So he's just...
that happens sometimes,
What is this?
I have no idea, dude.
Well, all right.
It's the cult of call-out is what it is. Siege is his religion, and we all exist within this bubble.
Well, on that note, let's check out what map we're going to in this next series. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes Skyscraper.
Well,
that's how that one goes. I'm pretty sure I nailed it. Yeah.
Good that we got that one out of the way. Yeah.
Spaghetti.
So no, Astralis and OXG didn't necessarily have a similar map pool with the exception of Bank, believe it or not. So I wonder if there's a chance that we'll go to a map that both teams happen to like, at least on Stage 3 results. No Skyscraper, no Club, no Villa, no Oregon. Aside from that, there aren't really that many maps. I feel like it's a case of Astralis ensuring that there isn't anything positive for OXG to use out of this ban phase.
Sure.
No Bank, so that can't be utilized anymore. Clubhouse was another decent one at the very least for OXG, but they're kind of running out of ones that they'll be able to use effectively, and Coastline was a decently preferred map for them. Can they force it to go to Cafe? Instead, Border banned out by OXG, which means it now comes down to just Cafe or Chalet, and if OXG are capable of getting Cafe, that might work out in their favor a little bit more, so Astralis has a choice to make, and no Cafe will be selected, so we head back to Chalet for the second time today, and it's not a map either team necessarily likes very much. Last time Astralis played it, they lost it. OXG had a couple Chalet maps during the 6th Invitational, and not many of them found, not many of them were great, so I feel like this is a very neutral coastline, compared to the first time we saw it today where both teams were still undefeated on it.
Right, and I would say that I like the choice for Astralis to not go to a Cafe because to me that's a philosophical decision there, right? To not go for a map that, quite frankly, you have to do a lot of anchoring on Cafe. There's some roams, like for example for the kitchen, but it's a map where you kind of have to play power positions really well, and if you're Astralis, that's one thing. I watched a lot of Stage 3, and I binge watched it in preparation for coming here. I watched it to reconfirm my thoughts on it. I just don't think they're a team that's that great at playing power positions like that, to be honest, compared to established teams, especially like an OXG knows how to clear it, knows how to use the coordination. So
that's fair, yeah.
Like Chalet is the same way. Every map has power positions, but I would say Chalet you can be a lot more crazy with it and get around and do things.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more as we kind of dive into the Oxygen roster here. So Oxygen, obviously a team coming in, taking down TSM yesterday, the reigning SI champions. A big part of that, too, was on the back of Newer's performance. The guy played like a maniac, and that kind of frees other people on the team to kind of like do what they do best, doesn't it?
Well, the big question mark for me was like the Fox A Dream scenario, and then once we saw Newers kind of doing what he was doing, it's like, oh, this makes perfect sense. He's being enabled to do all that, all of like the big stat-heavy kill highlight plays because everyone else around him is doing the dirty work. That's how the relationship between Foxay and Dream was working in this scenario. I think that standard, especially from what Fox said in the interview, him going back into a vertical, playing Sledge, kind of taking a little bit of that role from Vert, does also free Vert up to kind of play in a similar position to Newers as like a second line of attack whenever they make pushes back towards the bomb site, and it's giving him so much freedom to operate. And then there's Laxing, kind of going off and doing what Laxing does. Like the lone wolf mentality does exist, but it's still creating impact in spots across the map that the defenders will not be able to successfully work around every single time. There's no exact formula. It's just Laxing might appear out of nowhere, but Newers is going to be the one to carve a path through the map for the rest of his team.
Well, let's look at Newers' stats in particular here. And Cookies, when you behold the numbers of Newers from our first match yesterday, I mean, look at that. It's pretty impressive stuff.
Perfect on entry. A lot of those were a Bayello. He killed him a bunch of times. He was part of the reason Polo struggled. He just simply couldn't kill this guy. And, well, 13 kills. I don't know the exact percentage decimals for what his KD would be. That's not
I'm not about to do that math
It's a
anymore.
pretty big number, though.
Yeah, it's great.
That's a Jesse.
Not a bad number.
Let's just say it's really good.
It's above a 2, and that's already really good.
Yes, above 2. Very good. So, I mean, the one thing about this OC team, everyone does their job very well. Everyone has very well-defined jobs. Newer's job, you kill. Dream's job is to deliver the diffuser to the bomb site. And he's done a good job. I think we didn't see Dream's stats here, but Dream went like, he was like 3-8 or something at one point yesterday. That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all.
Because
Yeah.
you know what Dream was doing? He was moving. He was running a 4-1-40 into sight with the diffuser to get it down. Period. That's his job. Droning people in, people acting off of Laxing, like you said, coming from the back, doing whatever Laxing does, causing problems.
Yeah.
Well-oiled machine, and Astralis will have their hands full.
Absolutely. So let's actually move over and talk now a little bit about Astralis as we get our final views here of Oxygen getting ready to play over there in Vegas. So Astralis, the team that took out TSM, I think I said Oxygen that earlier.
Yeah.
I meant to say Sonics. Okay, so Astralis took out TSM. There we go. We got it right. And, you know, going to this one, it seems like a battle of the Titans, but that's not necessarily what we expected. If we looked at this matchup yesterday, before we saw the games of yesterday, we might not have said the same. We might not have been thinking the same things we're thinking now when we look at this roster, right?
Yeah, and I think Astralis' main point of contention is innovation on a map that many people haven't seen before. Not something they can rely on here. They can't have the element of surprise, try out some wacky stuff. I mean, they can get wacky, but the formula for this map has already been long established. Sure. There's some things you can try on a map like this, but the last time they played this map in particular was the first match after they actually got picked up by Astralis. They played against the Sonics and they got smashed. Like you mentioned, they couldn't play those power spots. They were trying to hold on to rooms to the death, almost like the way in which TSM kind of pioneered in NA. Hold a room, set up utility, and just hold it until you die. Don't worry about a fallback plan. They tried that and it failed pretty abysmally. So they can't rely on what happened yesterday to lead them to success here.
Right, and I mean, it's like if you want to fight someone like an Iconic, right? If you're OXG and you're game planning this, the last thing you want is an Iconic that's running around, floating around, doing whatever he wants. That's where he's most dangerous. When he's just pinned in a corner, like for example near that office balcony, people like to play there.
Yeah.
He's just kind of whatever. He's not much of a problem for a team like OXG that's traditionally very coordinated. At least based on yesterday, from what I saw, from how their objective play was on drone, especially, they're throwing grenades in with their plant, and like I said, Dream's getting in there and doing what he needs to do. It's going to be very interesting to see how this Astralis Chalet has changed with Callout. Whether it's changed for the better, because it better have sitting there and anchoring and just, I don't know. I didn't like that from stage 3.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize how much I did not like that. So let's see how it's going to change.
Well, let's zero in on Iconic stats for a moment. You know, again, only one day of stats, but he had a pretty monster day. He was our MVP of the day for NAL yesterday on day number 1, and for good reason. 100% cost.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this already, like from yesterday and then from the pre-show from today.
Bears repeating.
Stats are fantastic, but the thing I wanted to mainly focus on is how those rounds were won. One of them was a DP fire clutch. One of them was an iconic, like 2v2 that turns into a 1v2 that he brings back. He had a 3K very early on. He was causing havoc everywhere, like around the site, especially on defense. The thing you don't want to do if you're the Sonics, especially if you're Iconic, is rely on 1vx's to carry you through the rest of a round. It's not a tangible way or method of winning because it's not reliable. They had, I think, like 2 or 3 of them from yesterday, which enabled them to clear through the Sonics before there was recourse. They didn't have an answer, so they still cleared through it incredibly quickly. Just, I think on a map that does have more of an established formula, there should be a way more easier way to just, how do I put this? They're not looking for a different avenue every single time. They should be able to be flexible, but they're not necessarily trying to like pray that every round is going to go their way every time.
Yeah, you shouldn't need to do that for sure. But you know what? What you might need to do is get ready to make some predictions very soon. So we get our last glimpse of Iconic. You do. You do have to. There's no avoiding it. This is just part of the show, Jacob.
Fair.
You signed up for this. It's in your I don't know if predictions are in your contract, but they should be.
They actually are.
I might have to do a reread on
It's
that
under the you have to perform this thing. Like there you go. You got to do it.
Check on that.
You know, speaking of performance, I haven't looked at the percentages lately, but I think they're actually pretty decent for Blues and Stokes. You know, on the prediction side of things, it's okay. It's not like Pengu levels down in the depths, you know, but it's not bad. But what's your read coming to this one? This is a challenging one, legit.
I mean, you know, okay, first things first, just to beat a 2-time hammer lifter, I'm already feeling good about myself. So anything that happens past that really doesn't matter to me. I don't even care about the coin anymore. You know, I'm just here for a good time, and as long as I beat Pengu, I'm pretty happy. So, you know, for
Did you hear him say he's giving up on it after like 2 days already?
That did sound like admitting defeat.
Throwing in the towel.
Yeah. All right.
Indeed, I am. I mean, I'm dealing with a mythical force here. This thing, it doesn't even have a brain. It just wants to win. I don't get it. But either way, down to the nitty gritty, John. I'm thinking Oxygen. I don't know about you. Slap it up there for me. Somebody in the back room. Thank you very much.
All right.
I'm gonna have to echo those thoughts because
you see what I'm dealing with over here? You see this?
I think at the end of the day, right now Oxygen just looked like a little bit more of a complete package. Whereas from Astralis' performance yesterday, Jacob, you were making a very good point about how it seemed like a little bit on the map and that their opponent might not have been fully ready to play into that. And then unfortunately, although it's great that Iconic had this really impressive performance, there's no way you can rely on that on a consistent match-to-match basis to just have one player, you know, pull you through multiple rounds. So for me, it's going to lean towards Oxygen as well.
All right, 2 for Oxygen. Our casters have spoken. We'll get back to you two in just a few minutes. Now we got to talk to my analysts here. Cookies, we're going to start with you. I know it's a little bit out of order for the graphic a little bit, but I want your prediction first. Go for it.
Oxygen.
Okay, all right, there you go. I like the deep breath as well to emphasize the point. Oxygen is the word. Okay,
yeah.
Short and sweet from Cookies. Jacob?
Oxygen, except that time I blew out carbon dioxide.
Did you hear that?
No, it
So
doesn't quite
opposite,
work.
yeah.
Different gas. I mean, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. I love what we saw from Astralis from yesterday, but OXG probably should keep this heater going on like essentially any map that they play, unless Call Out is completely changed up and wants to innovate in a different way for a map that has a pretty default method of playing it already. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's already close. It'll be a close game. I'll still give it to OXG anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, that means there's only one more thing to predict. And that thing is the coin. Coin is 2-0 today. That's not bad. That's a pretty good start, I would say, on the day for the coin. But again, it's a neutral thing. It doesn't think. It just is a random force of nature. So we've got heads, of course. It's going to be heads OXG, tails Astralis. We're going to flip it.
I don't know what I'm rooting for here.
It's heads. The coin says Oxygen.
See, look, man, when I win, the coin also wins. This is the problem I have with it.
Sure, well, the trouble is...
There's no escaping this thing.
There's no way to predict what the coin is going to go with because it's literally a 50-50 random chance. So.
You know what's insane?
What's that?
I haven't dropped it yet. I think that's more impressive than
I think about that every time
You're,
I
like,
do it. I'm not
flipping
going to lie.
Landing it right here. I'm waiting for you to drop it on this.
I know there
nice
are some
shiny
people that
glass.
flip it and then just let it hit the ground.
Yeah, I practiced coin magic when I was in grade school. Maybe it's like the muscle memory. I don't know.
Do you know any cool coin tricks? Like different, like flipping it between your fingers? And
Not
stuff like
anymore.
that?
Not anymore. Yeah. Well, if I think of any, if I relearn some, I'll do them on the show at some point. But for now, we're going to send it to a quick break. When we come back, the battle begins. Oxygen versus Astralis. Don't miss it. Coming right up here on Rainbow Six North American League.
Now I can feel it. Now I believe it.
And welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Nearly halfway through the day now as we get prepared to jump into our third matchup of the day between two teams which found initial success on day number 1 with their new rosters. It's Oxygen about to go up against the new Astralis, and it's bound to be a very exciting matchup indeed. We've got our community poll, though I got a little bit too preoccupied with coin discussion there at the end, so we're going to be bringing it up for it. We want to know from you guys at home, who is colder, who will be colder in this matchup, Laxing or Iconic? Go ahead and let us know in the vote, and we'll have your results in the middle of the match.
That's a really, really hard one, too, especially with the performance that we had from Iconic yesterday. But if you guys didn't know, Laxing's actually, technically speaking, the second highest rated player right now in the league. So pick your poison, you know, like you kind of go back and forth. But for me, I'm going to have to go with Oxygen on this one as well. I got to go with Laxing. I just think that there's no way that Astralis really stops them today, in before this is quoted later on after Astralis wins this game. But, I mean, you know, I think it's going to be a pretty long road for Astralis. If they do end up winning this, I think it's going to overtime.
I think the fact they're going to Chalet really reinforces OXG as well, and Laxing's point further also, because this is once again a map where you've got those power positions, you've got the ability for players to roam out, mess with the attackers as they try to clear out some initial parts of the map. That's exactly what Laxing loves to do here. Play around, maybe rotate through the basement as well, as the basement can kind of work similarly to how the Villa basement works from time to time, where it's just a little tunnel that the roamers can use to potentially get some late flank play in. So expect a lot of that from Laxing. But of course, Astralis being the team that they are, will be very well aware of the fact that that is Laxing's playstyle, so they're going to try to counter that out to the best of their ability.
I mean, don't they all? That's the thing about
Yeah,
Laxing.
that's very true.
He's been doing this for longer than some of these pros have been playing the game, and he still does it consistently to this day. So I highly doubt that Astralis is going to be the one with the huge game plan to shut him down in a major capacity. But we have to find out. Both of these teams obviously having some new faces to their squad. Obviously, everyone's pretty high on Oxygen with Dream and Newers coming in. I'd have to say Newers a fantastic addition to this team, at least for that first day. What is showing from him? But I mean, you really have to give it to Dream as well, because he's that, you know, shadow force in the background that you really don't get to see do all of these things to try and make the, you know, front more offensive people actually work out inside of their engagements well. So it's very, you know, cool to see Dream working into this team already and slotting in an extremely convincing fashion.
Works into our theory pretty well, too, that Dream was going to be a good personality fit for this squad, both in terms of his ability for a role and just kind of the fact that he's a little bit more of an experienced player, has been around the scene for a good amount of time, and that equates pretty well to what we've got out of the core 3 that you guys have been seeing don these colors for quite a few years now. So OXG still looking to continue forward, carrying that success forward with their second win of the stage here against Astralis. Astralis, in the meanwhile, here, they're going to have to look for some bigger improvements away from Iconics in order to potentially get that done, as everyone on the OXG roster was firing off on all cylinders yesterday, it seemed.
Yeah, I definitely think that Astralis has some things that they can enact upon Oxygen. I think that especially inside of just the frag department, they have the capability to take these gunfights and be victorious. But it's going to be very scrappy, back and forth, and I think a lot of this will be decided inside of, you know, those earlier engagements, especially when we get Newers being very active on either side of the coin. I really think that it's going to revolve around him and what he's capable of. But, I mean, as we'd seen yesterday on their theme park, Laxing's no slouch either, and he had technically less deaths than Newers and having the same amount of kills. So you're technically dealing with two people that are very comfortable in their current position. You can really say that about all of Oxygen. It's almost like the stars have aligned for this roster. And funny enough, I was thinking about this when you were talking earlier. It's almost like Oxygen's team has progressively gotten better and better as they've improved their org and like their logo and their jerseys and everything. I mean, they moved out of this little like 1,000 square foot home, and they're just now sitting in like this good like 3,000, 4,000 square foot house. They got the whole family, John. They got the backyard with the picket fence, and I think they're ready for this series today.
Well, we're going to find out if that is indeed the case. More than likely going to see a lot of early round kind of scrap fighting going on outside of the windows and whatnot, playing for those power positions, such as the very common one we see players go to on the outside of Library. And that's going to put a lot of the pressure. Of course, we had talked this point to death already about Iconic, but not just him. Forrest is going to be the other player that will be looked to pick up a lot of those early kills and potentially be the first in, the first to take a fight for this squad. So he as well is going to have a lot of that pressure on it before to find those players like Laxing and the other more tricky ones on OXG that are going to try to get in the way of these early clears.
Yeah, absolutely the case. And, you know, we're sitting on the door of everybody in the lobby here and getting this thing going on, but I know all of these players are just waiting in anticipation. It's one of those things where you've completed your warm-up, you just want to be playing the game now, and I think we're all sitting in that same boat. And as soon as I say that, we are now headed off to the snowy snowcaps of Chalet to see what can be done inside of this massive log cabin.
So let's go on a winter vacation and see who indeed will top out this matchup. Once again, just a best of one, folks, so the only map being played here. We are live and into it, though, getting started indeed with our first round in just a few seconds here. Need to get through the ban phase first, of course, so let's get into that. Astralis is going to be starting on the defense, which means they get the 2 outside bans, the first and last one. Oxygen starts on the attack, so they get the 2 central ones.
Now, we're going to have anything interesting come out here on the offensive side, ban-wise. I'm assuming we might see something like a Flores come out. This one's definitely interesting with the Lion being taken away. I think we're going to start to see a lot of more target bans coming out instead of, you know, what is great for the overarching map. Thatcher's obviously going to be one that kind of falls into that category. Lion more into the strategical basket.
It's only that too, but OXG likes to use Flores, so it's so it's not out of character for them to potentially leave that in play. Same can be said for like even like Zero on a map like this is another map where I think he gets a lot of play also. So no surprises as we continue on to the defensive side of things. Valkyrie, once again, she's staying consistent despite the nerf there and probably is going to remain that way, I would imagine, for the next couple of months. And then finally, last ban is going to be Cade as well. We see quite a bit of reinforcement capability coming out from him on this map, so works to get rid of it and make things a little bit easier for Astralis on their attacking side.
Okay, so now that the rubber hits the road, what is Oxygen going to do with our attacker repick? You and I just had a fantastic series where we got to watch SSG really take it to Mirage on Bank and really show off what the capability of this new attacker repick is. And they did the same thing yesterday. If anything, they just leveled up when it came to today. So we'll have to see what Oxygen can possibly do now as they're trying to continue on their reign of terror through the NALs. They've already picked up 1 win, but looking to pick up their 2nd here today.
It's going to be the bar holds first for Astralis, meaning we'll get an immediate extension up to the 2nd floor, playing in to that power position that I talked about before. This usually going to be deployed with a deployable shield here, as well as quite a few ADSs or other forms of utility mitigation, and we'll certainly be getting that. 2 shields are available for the defense. You can see that setup going to be going into DP Fire's position over the next few moments here, and along that, we will also see the connector inside of Library get utilized quite heavily by probably a 2nd member of Astralis also to try and fend off this pressure from OXG. They're going to want to waste as much time as possible because OXG, of course, will be bringing in that soft destruction on Foxay to be able to open up the floorboards here inside of Library and make attacking the sites down below that much of an easier job.
Kind of a decent switch up here for OXG as well. Laxing bringing in the Dokkaebi, so they'll have the capability to clear out the map pretty quickly depending on their drone position. And as you guys know, with the way that attacker repick works, it actually makes it to where the offense is almost, you know, given more of the map if they're able to drone things out early, or rather just make a better call on their strategy. Whereas before, droning out things early on was kind of a risk. Losing those drones early and not being able to utilize them for your own info game once you're actually on the map was just not the best thing in the world. So now that we have that, there's a real reason to have those drones that hold so much value utilized early on, and we're going to see it here yet again. It's going to be almost a direct take for Oxygen as of right now as they wrap and coil themselves around this map. The drone game will spin up once again here to make sure that they know exactly where these Astralis members are.
Yeah, but no surprises in terms of where the clear from OXG is being directed towards here. Definitely trying to flush out that Library position. A few other members of Astralis realizing that there's not going to be much from the Solarium side. They're going to be free to rotate from their office and bathroom spots a little bit closer to support that Library extension, meaning that OXG is going to have their work cut out for them just to get this one single room under their control. That's not even counting all the work that still needs to be done to move back down below it onto the first floor where the actual sites we played into. First, those phone calls going to come out from the Dokkaebi, and it leads into a 1-to-1 exchange with both Dream as well as J90 picking up frags from either side. Newers as well as Iconic fall from either team, and those are 2 of the big fraggers going down here, leaving the rest of the squads to fight it out here with the remaining half of the round.
And interestingly enough, Iconic actually falls inside of side. I don't know how exactly that one ended up breaking down, but either way, we're into the 4 versus 4 now. Shuttle with some pretty fantastic positioning here towards office. Will be able to keep things slow and steady on this top floor clear if that's what Oxygen so chooses. Still have, I believe, 1 phone call in the back of Laxing's pocket. Has a smoke grenade as well that he can try and use against this bar stock position. Make it to where J90 can't see as clearly. Go for a potential plant here later on, but still so much to do around this space with what Astralis is able to occupy in the current moment. Yes, DP Fire has some damage on himself, but past that, the longer Oxygen takes, the more Astralis is able to add to this puzzle, especially for J90's sake.
Foxay sneaking in from down below, trying to see if he can get free clearance of the opening lobby here. Now he's going to actually lean himself into a site take as well. Finds it open. Dream as well. Gets another opening kill from the back window over by Billiards. Foxay pinching out the player, holding the site connector. Beautifully done by him as J9O goes down. And the player count from Astralis continues to dwindle. Forest suddenly left alone in a 1v4. No ability to stop the plant from going down. And cutoffs are already established. He'll try to lurk back in. Nearly gets the planter actually. As never mind, the cutoffs are not there. Reads into this peak from Laxing. Beautifully done so far by Forest. But he's got a lot more kills to get. And only about 20 seconds or so to get on the counter defuse. Players now on Repel. They're going to be moving upstairs in order to establish post plants. It's just too much, too quickly. And Forest goes down, giving OXG the opening round.
Difficult round there for Astralis as Oxygen don't play into their strategy at all. Astralis is extended all the way out towards the master space, but more towards office when it comes to Shuttle's positioning there. And he ends up just getting decimated. There's really nothing that he can do. He doesn't actually get in front of Oxygen in the slightest inside of that positioning. And really Astralis' top hold really not playing too well into that either. Oxygen able to exchange 1-for-1, but past that, they're able to get things to go off without a hitch, eventually getting it down to a 4 versus 1. And yes, we see Forrest get a kill, but it's just an exit frag. It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. He's stuck inside a fireplace hall, and Oxygen are able to get everyone out of the site and get that plant down in pretty convincing fashion.
Great reads, great drone usage once again from OXG, specifically Fox able to utilize that quick little sneak in from the snowmobile garage to get himself up through the main stairs and sneak in to add a secondary angle to that pinch. Might have not ultimately have been needed either, but just a good insurance policy to make sure that the players that were getting flushed out from the front side of bar did not escape to potentially contribute to the retake later on in the round. Away from that, it is going to be a solid start from OXG and a couple of repicks being aligned in there, so we'll see some slight changes to their lineup as they once again spawn onto the board as they look for a second round, this time of course against a kitchen hold though.
Lax will keep the Dokkaebi, and Dream and Vert will slot in as their respective operators. The more fun one to talk about has got to be the Knock. We've seen her a little bit earlier on with some strategies from SSG on their attacker repicks, but looks like Oxygen wants to try and put a feather in their own cap here. So we'll see what Vertical can possibly get done with this. This is also going to garner them quite a few frag grenades, and we know how important those have been in the recent history of Rainbow Six Siege's competitive play.
DP Fire still playing into that extended position. You'll notice, though, way less utility supporting his position this time. Just a single reinforced wall, and that's not going to do much with a nade. In fact, it helps him in this case. Foxay banking it off of that wall and knocking out DP Fire as he goes down for the second time so far with no kills to respond to his deaths. Phone call is going to come out also here as OXG are starting to take some serious control of the map away from Astralis as they get prepared to take full control of the second floor and eventually make the descension down onto the site. Another member of the Astralis roster going to get dropped, this time by Laxing, and it's iconic, down again as well.
How deep of a cut was that from Laxing? Was he all the way downstairs for Big Garage? I think that's where he got that kill. That was intense, if I can say so myself. I mean, Oxygen seemingly aware of every move that Astralis is going to make at that point, if that's actually how that ends up breaking down. But either way, Oxygen, they've gotten so much for the drones that they've given up for the situation. Only 3 drones down. Laxing using up his last phone call as well, and 1 minute and 20 seconds still remain for them to get some things done. Laxing will finally be pinched out inside of Garage, but this is almost too little too late at this point as Oxygen still has a 4-3 lead.
Astralis still with a little bit of presence up on the second floor, specifically above their site, closer towards Solarium room in the office or bedroom more than likely. So not fully done just yet from that position, and that's more than likely what's holding up OXG. That and their inability to knock out players like Forrest, who are still trying to swing wildly and do some serious damage like we just saw against Foxay. He goes down to a sliver of HP. J9O will be found out over here inside of the trophy stairs. So they're aware of his angle and will be trying to avoid that, but time is continuing to get lower and lower here for Oxygen, running out of capability to force these players out. But of course, look above you, look at that blue silhouette quickly encroaching on J9O's position. It's going to be Vertical lurking in here, trying to deal with that issue and prevent any potential fallbacks from Astralis at the same time. The Help Presence indicator, you guys can see that gray camera. That means that Vertical is not going to be seen while this is going on. He disables it. Camera might have caught it, but no. Free pick as he goes down and finds J9O. And on top of that, the plant has been put onto the ground as well. Beautiful work once again from Oxygen. And now it's going to fall to Forest and Shuttle to clutch. One's already dead. Shuttle's found a trade. He gets the second one. So we're not done just yet as it goes to into a 1v2, but Dream, quick on the trigger, pinches shut that attempt at a clutch, and succeeds in closing out the round for OXG.
This is day 2, and we're already calling these mid-round adjustments as a team that just picked up 2 people to play patiently and allow Vertical to make a play across the entirety of the top floor of Chalet. Extremely well done. I almost thought I was playing Metal Gear Solid there for a second as we saw Nock just slowly creep across that top floor and use her held presence to the best of its ability. Fantastic patience from Oxygen, and what a trust they have in Vertical to achieve that as well.
Things continuing to go well for OXG. Not so much with the case from Astralis, as all aggressive early round attempts that they're making to get in the way of these attacks are for the most part failing. Only really trading out inside of the primary firefight that ultimately will decide the round, and not nearly enough to contend with the pressure coming in from OXG. Astralis will choose now a 3rd site as they continue to rotate around, not feeling a retry on either of the ones they've already gone for. It's down into the depths of the basement, where they'll hopefully find their salvation in the first round of the map.
10 seconds to insertion.
We'll have to see what they can get done here. They'll have Shuttle on the Vigil, so this is already telling the tale of a roam game coming to fruition here for Astralis, and that's going to be extended out by Iconic and J9 as well with their respective operators. Past that, Force will more than likely be allocated to site duty with DP Fire, trying to slow things up around the map. Could dedicate some of these Banshees towards site to make things easier on Forest, or it could just dedicate them around the map for info and possibly easier gunfights for their roamers. We'll just have to see. He already has all 3 of his down, so these engagements for Oxygen opening up the Solarium windows here on the north side. Could be starting off with a bag, just depending on what these angles are over towards this end. And speaking of angles, I already have one opened here for Garage, as Oxygen have used their can opener already, or actually something else. Actually, no, I take it back. Foxy does indeed get 2 of those, so apologies about that.
So they'll have that open, and that'll be the first point of access for OXG. Much like the previous 2 rounds, though, expect a bit of a slow wind-up here as they try to build their intel game while the round goes onwards. Only 3 drones have been knocked out so far, so still plenty of additional ones to chuck into this setup here. And in the meanwhile, Astralis also trying to set up their own positions to counter out some of this action here, specifically Shuttle, as well as Iconic trying to pinch out pressure towards the trophy side, but not aligning too well so far with the actions of OXG, as they're focusing once again on trying to work their way in through the side door, it looks like, with a few players outside of those trophy windows, and Newers, of course, working on the side door itself by getting access to there and now establishing a cutoff from the side stairs.
I don't know about you, but I'm pretty scared for Astralis in this position as of right now. It almost seems as though Oxygen are going to have the capability to flood the site and take out Forest here, mostly because of the info that they're starting to garner inside of this area as well. I mean, he is inside of blue, so he'll have a rotation that he can possibly use, but with this swing right here, that's going to be a kill of Forest. They do have someone inside of the connector, though. I saw someone drop inside. That's going to be the Mozzie, but J9's dead, and so is DP Fire. Laxton to be the first to fall from Oxygen, and his Newers picks up yet another kill. It's a 4 versus 1 going into Iconics. Well, not really favor in the moment, as he will try and open up the floorboards, finds the man, downs the man as well, and cleans it up with the secondary. A Nitro Cell down, but Foxay's up top with the buck. He will clean up shop, and Oxygen will claim the round.
You're seeing these moments like we saw there at the end by denying the plant, where you might think that Astralis has like a little bit of hope in the round, or that they're maybe going to make some move here, but the problem is OXG are just so far ahead of them every single time. Every time a move like that is made, yeah, they might get like 1 kill or like delay them for like 5 to 10 seconds, but as soon as that time is expired, there's immediately someone from OXG like sprinting at that player, knocking them out from an angle that they did not expect they were going to have to deal with. So constant adjustments, constant awareness of these situations is making OXG such a strong force so far in this opening half.
You can thank Laxing for that one. That's the drone game of Oxygen on top of Laxing being dead and being on cams properly. They knew exactly what Iconic was going to be doing. They try and stick the plant down the stairs just to see what happens. I mean, you're already there and planting, so you might as well, right? And that's what allows Foxay to know exactly what's going on and almost have like that sixth sense moment where, why are you here? You know what I mean? So he just swings in through kitchen because of the info game that they're playing, and it's looking really, really good for their Chalet offenses right now. And as I said before we got into that round, I'm really scared for Astralis right now in these defensive, adjustments, because it just seems like they really can't get anything going up against Oxygen. They're not really in front of them. Like, they're around the the map in order to hold space, but it's nothing that Oxygen's really concerning themselves with.
It's in fact the other way around. I mean, they're fairly behind OXG in a few avenues. We see it there. OXG paying no respect to the upstairs holds that were somewhat established for Astralis in the later parts of that round.
Like, oh, you're going to give us Forest? Cool, gunfight
oh, yeah, we have access to the side door. Cool, we're just going to go in. We know there's only one player in the site because we drone the heck out of it. So we've got 3 people here. We're just going to press the issue and get ourselves in there, and Astralis just did not have a quick enough rotate to be able to counter that back out. So good stuff from Oxygen, catching these small little holes in the defense and just ripping them wide open to try and take full control of these rounds.
You ever just stacked with your friends inside of an FPS for like the very first time, and you kind of know something about the game? You ever done that before?
I don't have any friends. So.
Well, I'm your friend, John. But we don't really stack on FPSs very often. But there's a rule.
Just pretend I do.
Yeah. So just for sake of conversation, whenever that does happen, usually the first discussion that's had is like, listen, as long as we do things together, that's really all that has to happen, right? Is no matter how stupid of an idea it is, as long as we do it as a team, we have a chance. And that's exactly one of those moments. Not that what Oxygen did is stupid, it's the fact that they're all on the same page. We're just gonna have 3 people run through the same door. Forest, please attempt to fight all of us. It's not gonna work out for you. So it's just very well done from Oxygen, trusting each other and just respecting the call of what's going on with the situation instead of somebody going off and doing their own thing and screwing it up for the rest of the team.
Yeah, doesn't really seem like that trust is necessarily there just yet for Astralis, so they're going to work on trying to reestablish it for themselves as they go to the second rotation of sites. It does look like they are going to just make a straight rerun of the first 3 that they played, so we of course are back on bar as a direct result of that. Flashes here against J9O are going to be far too powerful. He has to jump down the hatch very quickly. That gives up interior library control, but you still have the power position from DP Fire just outside of it, and you still have another member, I believe Iconic, playing at the top of blue stairs. So we're not done just yet, or actually have not taken that upstairs control, as a bit more work still needs to be done.
I am a little scared right now for Astralis yet again. As that frag grenade, it was coming in. But, I mean, I would say a sixth sense, but it already happened to him. So it was more of a flashback in that moment of the frag grenade coming in off of Ego Balcony. Drones out for Oxygen as they're trying to find the remainder of these Astralis members. But Astralis will find them instead. And not only that, but they'll take down Newers. Hasn't had the greatest game in comparison to what he was able to accomplish yesterday, but still a huge pick for Astralis.
It's a passive hold here from Astralis, giving up these positions a little bit earlier. So far, that's working out well for them. Obviously, putting them into a little bit of a claustrophobic scenario in terms of where they can play out the rest of this round. But as long as they can maintain it, they're in good straits right now, especially now that they brought it down to a 5v4. And you can see there's other problems here for OXG to deal with. 2 more players down the piano hallway as he lurks around the corner. And it's still, you have that one additional player playing at the bottom of blue, or more the top of blue right now.
Oh,
that's
what
also going to become
shot.
problematic. The yellow ping out against Foxay, but Forrest is not giving it early enough to adjust to it. Foxay now tries to pressure Iconic out of his blue stairs position, but he's long gone, as you can see, already given it up and fallen back into the depths of the site, or rather the basement now, as he goes all the way back downstairs.
And Oxygen able to maintain the drone economy through all of this as well. It's something that you and I were seeing time and time again from SSG on their offenses, and Oxygen able to replicate this on Chalet. So definitely have some info going in these last 40 seconds here to possibly pick up the remainder of these Astralis members. J9 in a pretty pivotal position here at the back of bar stock, but you can say the same about Shuttle. He'll swing into the main library hallway and lose his life to Vertical, holding things down. But now Vert, he's been down in DP Fire. Can he get things done? Oh my! He slaps Laxine off the face of the earth. J9 still holding things down inside of sight as well, but Astralis, they still might lose the round. DP Fire, he's on low HP. It's going to take a singular bullet, and Vertical will get it done after he gets picked back up. Everyone just giggling after that round. Laxine especially just gobsmacked off the balcony. And just, what the heck was that?
Laxine literally typing wow after that shot hits him there. And for anybody that managed to miss it, we might catch it on the replay right here. But what an adjustment from DP Fire. Unfortunately, the only kill he's gotten so far inside of this game, but what a kill it was, as the rest of OXG, though, have no problem clearing out the rest of that defensive setup. And once again, off of the backs of their great intel and follow-up upon that intel into execution, they claim a 4th round.
I mean, if it's your only kill, I guess you made it flashy, and
Yeah.
that's what I care about. You know, you ever seen like the old phase ill-cams, like the trick shotting and all that stuff?
Yeah.
You know how many times that you have to fail and kill yourself on a map in order to actually get one of those things? It's like the exact same thing, right? Like, you try a million times, and sometimes it turns out pretty cool, and that happens to be one of those scenarios for DP Fire. Hopefully it's a little bit more than that, though, as Astralis definitely does not want to lose this 1-0, map score line early on inside of the stage. They would love to take this map off of Oxygen, but as of right now, they seem indomitable on this offensive side.
So some slight changes on the attacker repick. The biggest one is going to be Vertical, who had initially selected a Nook, wanting to potentially use that again to sneak back through the upper Solarium side, but instead he's going to probably go for a little bit more of a comfortable pick onto the Twitch here, which I believe we saw him hold that on the previous round as well. So just going to make a return to that and hide it initially in order to give him a comfortable start, and it's going to be a very comfortable start apparently, as OXG spamming in, it looks like, from the front side of the building, is going to be able to knock out J9 with Newers claiming that opening kill.
Now, poor J9, Newers coming back with a vengeance in the opening 30, not to really be expected by anyone inside of the building. Now, DP Fire under fire here in Library. He'll add some more Wamai discs to the equation. A drone in to confirm the position as well, as he'll get hard pinged. Foxay pinching, and I don't believe they have any inkling of this either. DP Fire, an easy pickup for him, and now Shuttle. So much damage done as Foxay, he's just reading them like a book, pre-firing through the wall. The audio capabilities of this man, as he knows somebody's around that library, stairs space. Vertical will take down yet another, and Astralis worse for wear.
I mean, no harbor is safe right now for Astralis is the biggest issue for them. They just have no support to follow up on their positions here. Yeah, the occasional kill or two sneaking out, as we see Shuttle get away with one there on the Nitro cell. That's going to finally trade out Vertical, but that's it. That's really all we're getting. There's been nothing else built on top of this. 1 to 2 kills. We might see Astralis straight out in the midst of the round here, because as we just see here, OXG is crushing every single other individual 1v1 that comes out. And that's a large part of the problem here, too. Astralis don't really seem to have great trade setups because they're constantly being caught mid-transition. And look at this. And sometimes they're not even seeing their opponent, man. Just getting overwhelmed with nades. What can you do about that?
You can tell me if I'm wrong. You really can. But does this not look like the most comfortable Oxygen you've ever seen in your life?
Oh, yeah.
They're
looking great.
They look fantastic. I can't think of another time as of right now where things are going off so well and there's not a single hitch. Even when they lose bodies, it doesn't seem like they're really worried about it. It seems like they still have an opportunity to pick up rounds. And yes, this is kind of a far cry from what we saw yesterday on Theme Park, where there were some back and forth rounds. But even now, I mean, Oxygen are still making the plays inside of the rounds. They're not taking easy street. They're calling these audibles, and they're really taking it to these Astralis defenses.
Important to note, obviously playing against TSM yesterday, also a team with a lot more capability, I think, to fire back in some of these crazier situations, so getting better control over it certainly leads us into belief as to why that matchup was a little bit closer. But OXG, now that we go back to familiar territory in a map that has been in the pool for some time, they're going to be crushing it here. And to highlight a bit of a stat while we are in the prep phase, still Foxay yet to die.
Yes.
At 7-0 right now, with 3 assists on top of that.
And past that, you have Vertical at 9-2. Yep. I mean, these are stats from Vert we haven't seen in what feels like millennia. It's fantastic to have him back in this capacity, and hopefully it continues for Oxygen, as this has always been a team that I've really, really appreciated watching, no matter the iteration. So now round 6 up and on here for Oxygen, as they're looking to take a clean offensive half. Astralis, they're headed to bar stock here yet again, or rather bar games, in order to try and lock up their very first defense in the last defensive round.
Vertical already establishing a cutoff for anybody that might try to rotate back from the library side. Not going to be able to catch them just yet, or rather rotate back from the Solarium side would be the more relevant one inside of this specific round. It's going to go well for him, too, as he's able to not only pick up a kill, but open up a window for Foxay to pressure forward, downing Forest in the process. Take him a second, of course. Somehow those shots. You got him? There you go. All right, good job, Foxay. Just took him a minute. It's all good. Taking down Forest. And now bringing it down to a 5v3. Before this round even really gets started here, they're going to figure out the position of a third one fairly close to the window that Vertical's playing behind as well. So good intel going out towards him, and DP Fire losing another third of his own HP. Things just continue to get worse and worse, it seems, on the Astralis side. But finally, they're going to be able to fire back as J9 gets a good fight going against Newers and brings it down to a 3v4.
And Newers is tied up for the most deaths on the team, but it's only 4. That's the thing past that. Astralis have not been able to get things going when it comes to the frag department, but now it seems like they're starting to warm up. Some big kills coming through, and Astralis with the possibility of their first defense here in round 6. A 3-2 lead right now inside of the man advantage. Dream and Vertical to step up to the plate, and Dream, he'll be able to collect 1. The case is on him as well with the Jackal track upstairs. He'll know that DP fire is around the space, but not before Vertical goes down. It's up to Dream to clutch this out now. Does he have enough time to get this case down? He's going to fake things out. Some paper sprays wide here on the bar door as the Astralis member will rotate around to the opposite side and try and assist his teammate, although J9 really not needing it in the moment. He'll take him down, and Astralis will finally slow down Oxygen.
Well, actually getting a little bit too confident, I think, as we got into the mid phase of that round, specifically the push from the outside balcony over towards the power positions being played in from Library, trying to force the issue there, despite being concussed and otherwise still having a lot of utility to deal with. That's where I think, or rather OXG, started to turn things around against their own favor and gave up a bit too much control, allowing for Astralis to win those crucial gunfights and build up the pressure they needed to win out this round. So finally they come onto the board on their 3rd run inside of the bar site, but it's going to be the only round they're able to take with them to the second half, as now they're on the attacking side, still 4 rounds down to Oxygen's scoreline. Meanwhile, OXG just needs a simple 2 out of the remaining 6 to take control of this matchup.
All right, well, as we switch sides here, Oxygen will be headed downstairs for what could be their second to last defense. We'll just have to see how Astralis' offenses start to build up. Already using that attacker repick, but it's not going to be in such a convincing way as we'd seen other teams use it. This is simply going to be a hard breach exchange for Forest, as Habana will go away and Thermite will come in.
We do have a little bit of a dangerous situation right now in the stat department for OXG. Laxing, unfortunately, has not been able to fire out so well inside of this game, at least compared to yesterday's. But keep in mind, again, the area where we see him contribute quite a bit more often is on that defensive side. So if he's able to come alive even more so here, and we continue to see the success from players like Vertical, who have already been having quite themselves the ballgame, and Fox A as well, then things should be a fairly easy closeout for OXG. But if not, that's a big piece of the puzzle that was absolutely relevant to yesterday's match that is suddenly going to go missing here should Laxing continue to struggle.
Well, the north clear for Astralis as he'll repel on the Solarium windows. J9 takes a couple of tags out of the T95 here. Fox A, he's going to actually spring 2 as well as they attempt to hunt him down. Not going to have Jackal available to them, so won't have tracking capabilities on Fox A. They'll simply have to try and attempt to follow his tailcoats, but he's going to skimper off to the other end of the map and play out his life. Some drone utility, or drone info rather, coming through for Astralis now for the site setup, but this is pretty plain Jane when it comes down to it. It's just a deployable shield on the opposite side of Wine with some ADSs allocated to the space.
Astralis continue to drone things out here as far as the basement setup is concerned. We're going to see pretty heavy emphasis on just defending this site itself and not trying to mess around too much with extended play up on the 1st or 2nd floor. And yours mainly just trying to catch anyone who might be a little bit too adventurous and try to initially swing the main stairs down into the basement, but not going to see that transpire anytime soon. We can see a big buildup of Astralis players over here towards the back line wall. One of them is going to run into at least a single goo mine there, giving a little bit of an audio cue over to the members of OXG, but not something that they were probably already aware of. As we can see, Hard Breach going to go down onto the wine wall and potentially give this team access if they do want to try and work themselves forward. The utility's been dealt with, the mute jammer's been knocked away, and the wall is open. The pressure now on against OXG as they have to fend off this push.
There's a huge difference between what Oxygen was able to create on their offenses and what we lie at currently for Astralis, and it's the picks. Astralis don't have a single kill nor any damage dealt to Oxygen. They've been able to keep every single member alive, and look what they'll be able to do now. Although these walls are busted, they still have the capability to lock things up. Dream with the M590, he'll go for the play, but it's a pre-fire here. Swings wide as a nade starts to come in as well. Oxygen will lose their first member, and Foxay, capability to play spoils in this position right outside of the blue door. Has so many members of his team trying to assist in these angles right now as Astralis has to look to Flood.
It's a great comm as well as we saw that Flood come out from Dream. I believe the players over here by the back stairs were able to catch it. Laxing picks up the first exchange from the Oxygen side of things, but so far it's going to remain the only one as J9 immediately trades it back out against Foxay. 2 remain for OXG. It's up to Laxing and Nuris to clutch this one out or try to prevent the plant. Only 18 seconds remain. They do not have an angle on the planter. Forest is going to get it down on the ground, so now our timer flips in the other direction, and the members of Oxygen fall to only 1. It's Nuris alone in in a 1v4. No access to the site either. Currently stuck inside of the snowmobile garage. Does have some soft panel breaches to try and take a few fights through. And oh, what a first fight being taken indeed. Forrest goes down, but the problem remains. 3 additional players need to be knocked out, and he has no clue where they are playing from. Might be a small amount of post-death intel coming in from his 4 other teammates off of cams, but it's really just going to be what happened inside of the fight that'll have to play off of here. They'll give him access to the diffuser. Is able to get on for the fake, but his HP is just far too low to take that fight versus Shuttle. He goes down to him, and another round is found for Astralis.
Scary moment there for Oxygen. I mean, Dream especially, almost on the precipice of a clutch if he was able to get that M590 play to work out inside of the trench hallway, but just so much gunfire. Practically like cannon fodder at that point. I mean, so many people shooting down that hall. Just not impossible for him to really take that gunfight in the moment. So unfortunate for Oxygen, but they will give up their first defense as Astralis attempts to climb out of this hole, and actually doing it in a pretty convincing way. It's down to the patience of their execute, waiting for Oxygen to overextend themselves, and that's exactly what they get.
So OXG starting to lose their edge just a tad here as of these past 2 rounds. Finally, Astralis able to catch on to the more aggressive tendencies of this team on both the attacking and defensive side. Now the question becomes, will Oxygen read into this, try to cool themselves off a little bit, or find another solution, whether it's going to be roaming flanks or something else to try and capitalize on Astralis' big buildup of players that they're using to brute force their way into the site. At least as of the first round, things could be very different, of course, as we move to a much different site. Where OXG is no longer going to be able to play into a bunker setup. They do have to extend upstairs and split their defensive setup quite a bit.
Well, for Oxygen, pretty interesting for this top floor for the moment. Astralis will have to try and clear this out, especially for Shuttle's sake, as the verticality here plays so well into this site. To see what Astralis wants to do with this. Looks like they're starting on the Solarium side yet again here, so we're going to have some contention out of the Oxygen team. Definitely going to have this extended hold out here towards the library as of right now. But past that, not too much going on the map. Just waiting for Astralis to make their first move as they're allocating themselves towards the windows.
So I'm going to continue to see time trickle down here for both squads, and OXG as well. Solid as a rock at this point, not shifting an inch unless they have to. They really want to try and trap the members of Astralis on their way in, and it's not going to happen. Instead, it's Foxe that gets thrown into a trap as he tries to hop down to what he assumed was going to be safer harbors inside of the trophy room, but instead, someone else from Astralis already has Overwatch for that exact position. Flushes him right into the crosshairs of that player and knocks Fox out without a single point of damage traded.
It was a pretty unfortunate position for him as the nade comes in from Iconic. It almost seemed like he could have outlived it, but it probably would have been quite a bit of damage given the circumstances. And now Vertical with a pretty nice frag, but Iconic able to fend him off instead. Everyone trying to work their way back towards this top space, but not really able to find any Astralis bodies, whereas all of Oxygen's have fell. It's down to Dream now inside as he's holding fast inside of Kitchen right behind the island.
Drone from Iconic is constantly chasing Dream also, so they're very actively aware of his position. This should be a pretty straightforward closeout from Astralis and at them a third round, but Dream, of course, still going to try to put up a fight, but another very unfortunate end to a round there. As an aid swings in, ends the chances for Dream, as well as the rest of Oxygen in this round, and Iconic and the rest of Astralis. They're getting pumped. They've got a streak going for themselves now and a real chance to get back into this game, back into this map where they could still steal a win away from Oxygen.
Yeah, it's an FPS, but it's also a momentum game all at the same time. And as soon as I say that, actually, John, our producer tells me it's a Oxygen timeout. Perfect moment for them as well as, yeah, just as you said, it's a perfect time for it because this is not only going to help Oxygen, but it also helps to slow down Astralis. This is a momentum killer. It's almost like icing a kicker when it comes to football. You want to just use that extra time, make them think about it a little bit. Maybe they'll mess something up in the next handful of rounds.
Yeah, OXG still trying to play into these more aggressive swings, or at least trying to survive inside of those extended positions inside of the early round, but every single fight they're trying to take here as of the past 2 rounds is being immediately countered out, much like we were seeing, to be fair, from Oxygen's side back when they were on the attack, but still it's not leading into a healthy late round formula for OXG as they're being left with just Dream or a few players inside of the site to try and fight it out. And even back on round number 1 where they played into that basement setup and basically bunkered into it, the walls way too too weak and way too easy for Astralis to open over on the wine side, giving them pretty much every single angle they could potentially look into in order to get access to that site. And Oxygen obliged. Oxygen peeked out, tried to take a fight. Dream did at least there, and unfortunately it did not work out for him as he was countered out from the angles over on the stairs. We are going to see a very interesting pick coming in here as Laxing will finally bring a Thorn in for OXG side. We've also got our community poll results there, just barely edging it out for the members of Astralis.
Laxing not able to edge
cold
out
enough.
Iconic. Yeah, just not cold enough.
4% colder. Or warmer, I guess.
Are we talking Fahrenheit or Celsius? That's the real.
That's a
could go to
question.
Kelvin.
Yeah.
Go to Kelvin. We can throw everybody for a loop around the world.
It's a lovely 206 Kelvin day today.
But honestly, I mean, can you give it up? For Iconic, especially. I mean, especially after what we saw from him yesterday, it's almost to be expected inside of that poll. But now with round 9 on the docket here, folks, let's see what Astralis are capable of and what Iconic can possibly get done here. Not really too much from him early on. We actually got a good read on Shuttle and what he's got going on around the garage space. He'll open up the snowmobile panel and start looking to see if anyone's down around this area, and he can potentially work this going forward.
That'll keep the option open as well to make the move that Foxay made back in round number 1, where he snuck in from that same position and was able to basically act as a pinch for anyone that the main push from outside of the windows was going to be able to
He just
force
walked in
outside
the
of
bar
bars.
door.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And he killed 2 players retreating in the process as well. So
Killed the guy in bar stock, too. They just pinched him out. It was fantastic.
So it should work out fairly well if Shuttle's able to leverage it. He is going to be able to deal with the barbed wire as he moves himself forward and reconfirms. A bit of a flood flash coming out there, but it is going to connect onto Foxay as it does not get eaten up. But either way, not a big deal as the pressure is not boiling out against him just yet. Iconic calls at least one other member of this team. Looks like Forest still trying to build up the confidence to work their way in. Forest, though, is focused a little bit more on the actual site and the crosses that could come from that. Iconic is going to be focusing a bit more on the clear for Foxay, but looks like he's got actually a pretty clean slate right now. Not too much being built up against him, so he's going to have a lot of freedom potentially inside of the late round. I say that, but now Shuttle, we saw him before playing from down below. He's rotated up on top, and I think he's going to try to assist with Forest here in clearing out this position inside of the library.
They have one more chance to try and burn out all of this. It's going to take all 3 stuns as well as a frag grenade, and actually that might already be done. I believe there was an ADS under the window, and yes, he's got 3 of those discs, so that means that they can pick up everything they have to throw into this position. Foxy's going to get the kill on Forest, just simply hopping inside of the window. He'll pick up Shuttle as well as Astralis is just trying to throw themselves at the Oxygen members. Foxy now knowing that one's inside of the space as well. Iconic's just going to give him the business. It's a triple kill now for actually Dream instead. I take it all back. I thought that was Foxy inside of this position, but might have had something else go on here. And actually it is, so I don't know exactly what happened there with the little overlay, but either way, it's Foxy going off in the moment. I'm going to have one of the air jabs eaten up here as he's practically won the round for Astralis just standing inside of library.
It's working out really well for these two upstairs, and you got to give massive credit to Dream, not just for the kills, but for the way that he's able to keep Foxay in that position. What's up?
No, I'm pretty sure that Foxay's gotten all the kills.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay,
he's gotten every single one of them.
Either way, Foxay sitting himself up inside of that position there. Dream doing a fantastic job of helping him out with those toxic babes and really keeping some of that pressure off him. We're going to see that Razor Claw go off, but it's not really going to do much damage to Jane. I know because he get his waltz right past it. The problem, though, is Nears has the counter to his angle, and well, yes, there's going to be a few more exchanges as the teams volley back and forth. It still falls, as you guys might have expected at home, into the favor of OXG with that definitive fight pretty much deciding it upstairs on the inside of library.
A little back and forth there as Foxay, he's going to let him know a little bit there on the bench. Astralis and especially Iconic, they just love talking, man. And that's what I love about esports overall. When teams are vocal and after you win that round, you're giving the other team some crap. That's the best thing about esports for me personally. I love the competition. I love the vibes that NAL has given this year with all of these teams. There hasn't been a single quiet bench. I hate it when you guys are a quiet bench. You are inside of practically a stadium. You're in an arena. Just have fun. That's what this is meant to do. It's a competition. Say your piece. It's always a good time. So for Oxygen, now feeling themselves after that last round, and the dynamic duo of Dream and Foxay getting away with a lot there. Either way, it broke down. I don't know if it was Dream getting the kills or Foxay getting the kills. It was just a whole cluster inside of that space.
All right, well, let's see if Oxygen can seal the deal now that they've figured out the formula to win on this defensive side. A few changes coming in. We are going to see them add a little bit more intel to the Astralis lineup. The one from Forest, just a stylistic change of hard breach, but of course Zero is going to be brought in for DP Fire instead to add that additional intel. This is an operator we talked about during the ban phase, about how Oxygen had been definitely seen using him quite a bit on this map, as well as other ones like Bank, but it seems like Astralis are going to find more use out of him inside of this situation.
Yes, indeed. And Zero, as you're saying, out and about now. See if some of the info game could possibly help out Astralis. Not too much of a change up across the board, though, there for them, as Oxygen will be transitioning through the map and setting up some more utility. And don't worry, folks, that is indeed just on our side. It'll flash in and out every once in a while, but it's not for the players, so they're not going to be affected on any angle inside of the map. So we're still good to try and progress forward and see if Oxygen is going to win this in 7-3 fashion.
Let's see here now if indeed it can be done from the Oxygen side of things. You'll notice Astralis are following up much more slowly this time on their initial clears as well, only really just popping open a few windows and establishing crosses, not really trying to actively clear anyone out, which is a bit of a contrast compared to what we had been seeing in the previous few rounds. Things continuing to look good for OXG as their defenses have barely been tested. That is going to finally start to change here, however. As you can see, a few of those red silhouettes starting to build out over towards Ego, and on top of that, on the outside of Library also, they're going to look to eventually make the swing through Piano and into Office. Might just bypass Piano, of course. You're seeing Forest open up the wall directly into Office now. So let's see if they're going to be able to build up enough of the confidence and, more importantly, positioning to make this swing.
Well, the timer's starting to eat at Astralis now, although they've made some solid headway. Working their way towards Eagle Balcony door here, able to hold that down, as well as the Piano window already occupied. Newer's worried about somebody eventually rotating towards Master window as well. It could be a pretty easy kill for them if Astralis is able to get there, but as of right now, only able to tag up these Oxygen members going into the last minute.
Last minute indeed here. Once again, relatively inactive round compared to the ones that we had played out before this. You can see one member of Astralis crawling through. Not sure if there's an actually accessible wall at that point, but yeah, Foxay is going to be able to edge out this first kill. Newer's as well. It's fallen apart too quickly here for Astralis. Shuttle as well as J90 have gone down. Still a lot of utility available here for the attackers to utilize, as Iconic is still going to have two of those adrenal surges. A little bit too quickly, though, as DP Fire gets his health bled down by Foxay, encroaching on a flank from the blue side, and there you go. It's a flawless round from Oxygen to shut it down once again. Neuros is ecstatic about this. This team's just been having a ball game in their first two matches here for the NAL season, and look at it.
Hey, Foxay getting down, showing Iconic.
He's yelling out.
Good. Oh, man. Fantastic stuff from Oxygen today, and not only that, but the adaptations inside of the mid-round, especially that last round. It was very slow rolling, but Foxay not only capable of getting the initial frag onto Astralis, but also seals the deal with a rotation throughout the entire map to come up Library Stairs of all things. So what a game from them. For Astralis, though, I think you got some lessons to learn from this one.
Once again, a lot still to go back to the drawing board with for Astralis here now that they play into a map that's been in the meta for some time and up against a team that had that cohesion together for that map. Seems like yesterday, once again, might have been a little bit of a fluke in consideration of the Sonics potentially not being prepared to play into a newer map. And away from that as well, another note on this one, the Slayer of Stage 3 is back. Vertical having a ball of a game there. For those who do not remember, back from the end of last year, he had himself an absolutely impressive run in Stage 3, only being overshadowed by one single player, and that was Hot and Cold, for those who don't recall that.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I believe he had a 1.38, if I remember off the top of my head, and Hot had like a 1.43. It
was so
close.
Like,
so insane by either of them. If you ever have a rating like that, you're probably one of the most insane players in the whole world. Like, that's just some stellar Siege to be played. But, I mean, for me, Oxygen, they're looking just so very dynamic in the current iteration of Siege that we have in front of us. And, I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I almost put Oxygen over SSG at the current moment. I'm thinking that they can really compete for that #1 spot this season. I can tell you right now, I am not the only person that is awaiting Oxygen versus Space Station Gaming.
All right, we'll have to wait till next week, of course, to see if both Oxygen and Space Station can keep up the pressure. And that'll do it for the two of us this week as well. We're going to go to a short break. When we do come back, we'll have your analysis segment as well as an interview with Dream to talk about that match.
Tell me what you learned in grade school. Give it to me like you want it. Did you forget that good? Why is our love it one-sided? It should really be give and take. Fill you up and leave me empty. Baby, was that my mistake? Covering his feelings, going through changes. I'm just so mad right now, I can't even think straight. So I'ma just tweet it and delete it, knowing you won't read it before we get too far.
Don't give up on me, yeah. Don't give up on me, yeah.
Welcome back to NAL. Oxygen taking the win over Astralis. Doa Cookies, Jacob here with you at the desk, and over in Vegas, we have none other than Dream standing by to chat with us a little bit about that map. Dream, can you hear me, man?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
All right. Hey, congratulations on the win today. So, you came over from Mirage, joined Oxygen, got a little bit of practice with them before the season began. Obviously, the results have been good. Did you expect things to go this swimmingly, making the transition, or has it been, do you feel like it's just a hard amount of work paying off, or how's that swap been for you?
I think we had about 3 weeks of practice together before the NAL started. And honestly, in scrims, we were like working really well together, playing really well together as like a squad. Things have just been gelling like really well. And I think our results today and yesterday just kind of proved that.
What's so far the situation? We did mention it to Foxy a little bit, but the conversion from him moving off of support back into a sledge role, we did see Vertical on that role most consistently back in last year. But then with you coming into the picture and now actually playing more of the hard support, more of the diffuser protection detail, how's that transition been?
I think Fox is honestly too nasty to be on the breach. I don't think he should be on it. I think he's like 10 times better sledge, and he's been going off these past 2 games, and I think that just proves it. And I think I'm the best support in the league, so it's just like it just makes sense.
Fair play. I'm not about to dispute that claim.
I don't think we can at this point. No.
I think that works.
And Dream, I noticed you guys are playing a lot of different types of operators designed to hunt people down. I saw the Doge, I saw the Jackal, I even saw a Nook, which for you guys, you love to just shoot people in the back. So, can you explain that? Is it like the attacker repick you guys are abusing or what?
Yeah, honestly, before attacker repick, I don't think teams would be like confident enough to do that. But with attacker repick, we're just kind of seeing what the enemy's doing, what site they're going to, and we're just abusing that, what we can do, right? So it's just bringing whatever operators anyone like feels comfortable playing, or like they feel like that's what they need to do their job. Like you can play that. Like if we wanted to bring a Maru on the entry, like okay, go it. Like we just have a lot of faith in our players, and they can go whatever they want.
Makes sense. It's fun to see. So we'll let you go in a moment. Before we do, I don't really have another question for you. I kind of have a little bit of a request, so I'll hope you indulge. You know, your clapping is quite famous, so I was wondering if I could beg, if I could plead, could we possibly get like one little dream clap, just one?
Let's go, OXG.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Dream from
you, guys.
OXG getting the second win. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Good luck with the practice. We'll see you again soon.
Sounds good.
All right, there you go. Dream from OXG. Always a fun guy to talk to. The stats don't lie. OXG, pretty dominating win over Astralis. There were some bright spots. They did have a couple moments where you're like, all right, you going to bring this back? But overall, seemed like it was all Oxygen today, huh?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about like those operators specific to hunting people down, it felt like on attack they were one step ahead of the roam constantly. If it was fast clears, if it's people in bad positions on Astralis that OXG trade or like kill without a trade back, that felt like a pretty consistent trend when they were up 5-0.
Right, and it's also the fact that what I did like out of Astralis as well, they actually fought back. It wasn't like they just sat there and whatever. They were trying to get flanks off, and they were trying to play in unpredictable spots. And
yeah,
EP was trying to make things happen, and it's just like a homing grenade comes, hits him in the face. It's just like, you can't win, you know? And it's just, I don't think Astralis should stop trying to, you know, solve the issue. But it was definitely OXG was just more of an issue of just OXG was just straight up better today.
Yeah. Seemed that way. And I think another player we have to mention, too, is obviously Newers. You know, still a player that's kind of new to the NAL stage. I say kind of new, very new to the NAL stage. Rocketed up to NAL. Still putting on good performances, too. And we were all watching it backstage. And Pengu said something that that really hit with me. He said, this guy is decisive, right? You don't usually see a level of decisiveness, knowing what he wants to do in a map without any really, like, second-guessing the way you see with a player like Newers. And I thought that kind of stood out, too. Because, again, that's a really great sign. When you see someone new, you expect the nerves, you expect the jitters, but it doesn't seem like it's affecting him really.
Yeah, there are two kinds of call-ups, I feel like, from a T2 to a T1 position.
Sure.
It's either somebody who's more support-based, will play back line, is intended to be support, can kind of like corral a team together, or it's somebody who knows every single angle on a map that you can watch, and even some good guesswork ones. I think he had like one or two wall bangs, or like things that looked like wall bangs from yesterday that made it seem like he understands where he's meant to shoot, when he needs to do it. His timing is always impeccable. Even if like the lack of experience is there for Newers, sometimes he seems like he's heat-seeking. Like, I understand now why some people were wondering if he was cheating in the beginning, because his crosshair is exactly where it needs to be all the time.
Pretty much. So I think it's time to take a look at some of the replays from that series. There are a couple fun moments, and our first one that we're going to look at is actually round 6. This was the first win that Astralis was able to pick up the round. And you know what? It takes a lot of mental fortitude, right? To be down 0-5, come back, win a couple rounds here. They didn't win the series, but they did win this one. They won 3 in a row after this, and this was a significant one too, because it ended up being a 3v5 comeback.
Yeah, so this is where I was talking about they're fighting back, right? You've got Forrest pushed all the way up in office here.
Yep.
There was another Astralis player that was like in that little connector there between the library hallway and offices. So they're trying to like to stop this clear from the master side from OXG. It's just, like I said, OXG is just a little bit better, right? So 5v3. It hasn't worked out. They're trying to resist it. It's not working out. So what do? You got to just hold firm here. J9, J90, whatever you want to call him. Jack Percard. This guy, look at him. Dominant in that position, and when I talked about them, you know, maybe struggling with anchoring, it wasn't the case this round.
No, not here. I'm loving how this was probably like the one time that we ever saw OXG like down in man count, and they also still tried clawing it back themselves. But I think from clears like this, Shuttle and DP, 2 kills in quick succession, forcing OXG into spots where they are taking a very unfavorable 1v1, like trap op into trap, like the frost trap right into an Ella mine means it's incredibly decisive, and that trend just continues up until Dream trying to clutch out a 1v2. He can't do it here. I think. See, like, he sees the outline, or like, well, we see the outline right there. He's very aware of last position. He knows last guy's back behind half wall. If he can't bait to find the final kill, not really a big problem, but still, I did like how Astralis, yet again, tried to do what OXG were doing to them almost in reverse, but it didn't happen until like the very last round of their defense. If they had done it earlier, maybe we see a different result.
Yeah, it was moments of brilliance, but it was not overall a match of greatness for Astralis, unfortunately. OXG, on the other hand, really put on a show today. We're going to take a look at, for a second highlight, the penultimate round of the map. It was round 9, and this one was all kinds of down. I mean, there's a lot of things that went into it, but the center point, the centerpiece, the star, if you were, would be Foxe hanging out around library.
Yep, he holds on to this room not by himself. He's got plenty of utility coverage, and he also has one guy top fireplace to work with him as well. But that's Astralis' entire game plan here, is clear library. There's more magnets on the way. If you look, Foxay has plenty of them that are still about to come out, but there's also an ADS upstairs, and yet again, that top library coverage. Astralis recognized that not only can they not acquire games control if they don't have library, but it's already about to be a far tougher task. So Dream across back top fireplace is able to throw smoke grenades at library window to ensure that Foxy is clear to look at Sandwich without having to cover his back. There's not really much of a fear of a vault in because you don't want to take said damage, but he's already opening up the kills. First one is a vault in. He'll go downstairs, find another one on someone, just trying to use that as a distraction to get into games, but there's no push yet again from Iconic. He's trying to use Finka to sprint back in. Gun Barrel gives his position away. Dream actually finishes the down there, but Foxy still secures that frag. That entire hold secures it for OXG. Everything else that happens from this point with this little time left is just impossible for Astralis to bring back.
Yeah, pretty much insurmountable, and I kind of want to talk about the whatever they were doing trying to jump in.
Yeah.
You said someone's distracting something. I mean,
it was mistiming. Like, if you want someone to hop in library window, why not have someone also come in sandwich window at the same time to cut him off?
True.
I mean, yeah, definitely. That's honestly some old issues for Astralis. It's something I noticed in Stage 3 when I watched them. Things just seem kind of disjointed. It's like one guy's moving here and a guy's moving there. And it's just like, I don't know what they were trying to do, if it was just bad timing or what, or if it was just a bad decision. I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's, it's, you know how the saying, if they don't know what I'm doing and whatever, I don't know how.
Well, if I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah,
they
like-
can't. Yeah.
They can't strat it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was very strange.
I
It
think
wasn't a
you're
rush,
absolutely
but it's just, I don't know. It was just weird.
No, I totally agree. So we're going to take a break in a minute, but I want to get some final thoughts. With Astralis, it almost seems like more questions now, right? Their win over Sonics now, knowing what we've seen from Sonics again today, doesn't seem as impressive as it did yesterday. Oxygen, though, looking pretty stellar across the board. Real quick, final thoughts, Cookies?
I agree with that, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know
alright.
if it's. I don't know if Sonic's just, like I said, they're trolling my prediction a little earlier. It's like, I don't know what's good with them, but yeah, I would say still questions for Astralis.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that the reason Astralis won Skyscraper was like leaning into the unpredictability factor of it. I think
Sure.
that definitely holds more weight now. But this is OXG kind of playing at the top of their game on a map that they're not, again, all that accustomed to. They've played it several times, but against a team like Astralis, it did seem like the right move because they just don't really seem to have that map figured out against solid teams. They played it twice in the past 6 months. Once against the Sonics, lost it. Now against OXG, same result. So.
Indeed. Well, coming up next, we have the SI champions. TSM didn't get the win yesterday, but they've got a chance to do it again today against the new revamped X-Set. Also looking for their first win of the season here on NAL. It's going to be a great map. Don't miss it. We'll be back with that one in just a few.